500 team again, and I have the Packers, who are Super Bowl contenders. I have them taking care of the Cowboys easily. That's gonna be my first easily game when they come to town.
God, I hope you're right. We got the Titans the next week at home. I've got this as a win. But this is one of those games that could easily flip the other way as well. I don't think it'll be an easy win, but I definitely think the Packers beat them.
I was gonna say I have them as a win too, and my comment was gonna be I don't know why. Maybe there's just maybe because we beat them when all the hype was around them a few years back. It doesn't feel like they have. Yeah, I could be surprised on this one too. I have the Packers winning this game, and that's probably my homer pick of the episode.
All right, we've got Eagles next at Philly. I got the Packers winning. What about you?
This is my surprise loss. There's a lot of excitement around the Eagles right now. I think the Packers will be, favored to win that game. But this is the one, and I alluded to it earlier. There's always one game every year where we're just like, what that bleep just happened? It was the Saints last year. I think 2 years ago it was the Chargers game. And then maybe the 49ers one of those years too, but it's always just 1 year where it's like, were we looking ahead to that next week? And the next week is the Bears, so I don't think we'll be looking ahead to that week necessarily, but it's late in the season. We haven't had a bye yet. Maybe there's some injuries there. Maybe Aaron Rodgers has got COVID again or something, but I think this is the year, this is the one game that we lose. Whether it's the Eagles or not, I mark my words, there's going to be one game where you and I are going, what the hell just happened? And I think this is the week.
Last year, unfortunately, was in the playoffs against San Francisco.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. So.
All right, and then you mentioned the Bears were the next week. It's at Chicago, but I still have the Packers winning this one.
Yep, I have the Packers winning this one, and this is going to be one of the last 5 or 6 games in Soldier Field. I think it was just announced the other day that the Bears are leaving Chicago to their new city, I think Arlington Heights, I believe it is. So it would just be nice to have the owner of that stadium, Aaron Rodgers, just rip off 4 or 5 more wins there, which means 4 or 5 more years as a Green Bay Packer, and let's start it this year. So one more win in Soldier Field for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers.
All right, and then we've got the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams the next week at home. This one I really wavered on, because we beat them last year, when they won the Super Bowl. I think we're going to be better than them this year, but I think this is still going to be one of those tough games. I think the Packers lose a close one here, maybe a heartbreaker. But I've got this one chalked up as a loss.
So we beat them last year. And we beat them last year after, it was a weird schedule. I don't have it in front of me. I think we had a Thursday night game. We had a short week or something weird happened. And they actually had a bye, if I'm remembering that correctly. Well, this year, tables are turned. The Packers are coming off a bye. I don't see LaFleur, Rodgers, and the Packers losing at home with 2 weeks to prepare. So I have this being our signature win and us just really ramping up into the playoffs and it kind of becoming go time football for Mr. December, right? I don't know if this game is actually in December. I think it is. If not, it's in the end of November. And I think with the 2 weeks, this is the signature win. This is the the Packers are for real. And I have us with a W. I think to your point, they regress and go Pack, go baby. Let's
go Pack, go.
Win.
Well, so this is December 19th. It is a primetime game. So yeah. Rodgers always seems to play better in primetime, but LaFleur hasn't been good after the bye. He's 1-2 after the bye. His first win after the bye came last year, but yeah, I don't know. This one it's weird. I'm gonna go with a loss. But
is that team side tangent here? Are the Rams Super Bowl contenders this year in your mind? I know the easy answer is yes, but are they the same team as they were last year?
I think for the most part they are. I think they are as good as they were last year. I think the difference is going to be other teams getting better.
And is Stafford still able to do what he did? I don't. This has been weeks since I've heard this, but I think they got him out of pitch count already at training camp, and he obviously a quarterback's pretty key. He's a tough guy. I love. He's my second favorite quarterback. Out there, and I'm always rooting for for him, kind of. I like him, but I don't think he has as good of a season. I don't think the Rams have as good as a season. Still calling it a signature win because it's the Rams, the defending champs. But I hope this game is a big win and not too tight.
Yeah. I assume we've got the Packers beating the Dolphins the week after that.
Win.
Even though it's in Miami, win. Okay, perfect. Don't think we need to elaborate much on that. And then we've got two division games to end the season. Both at home. Yeah, we got the Vikings, and then we've got the Lions. I've got the Packers beating the Vikings at home. In I guess week 17 technically. What do you think? You think that's a home run for the Pack?
I love it. Yep. I don't think any divisional game is ever going to be a slam dunk market, unless unless their quarterback has COVID again. But yeah, I have us winning for nothing else, for no other reason than we're not going to let them take two from us. I have the Packers losing in week 1. And I think we're going to be in a position again where we have everything to play for, having a higher seed, in the playoffs. And I think the Vikings, yes, they'll have things to play for, but I think they're going to be another bubble playoff team. And I just think if history is anything, we'll lose in Minnesota, we'll win in Lambeau, and I'll take that. I'll take that all day.
All right, gotcha. And then last week, like we mentioned, is going to be against the Lions. Now, the Lions are an interesting team for a lot of reasons. I'm not sure they're going to be good enough to vie for a wild card spot, but I do think the Packers are going to want to win this game to lock up either, a higher seed or a division win. So, yep. I do have the Packers winning at Lambeau in Week 18 against the Lions, but I think it's going to be a game that they need to win as well.
Yeah, assuming they have something to play for, I have them winning too. Again, I'm not sold on the Lions. I know everyone's excited about the coach. I have us winning, and barring it being a game that we don't need like we've had in the past. But yeah, and even if it is, I think what we saw out of Jordan Love this preseason, I think makes me more confident that he can sling the ball a little bit better here this year versus next. So I have us going 5-1 in the division. Our first loss coming from the Vikings in week 1, which will be kind of hell for the first week of for us, you and me living in Minnesota. You have us 5-1 in the division as well, dropping a weird one to the Lions. So 5-1 makes us win the division. So we're both predicting NFC North champions. Is that right?
That is correct. 5-1 the division. I've got the Packers going 12-5 overall, and I believe you've got them going 13-4. If that is the case, then I believe Matt LaFleur will be the at least tied for the winningest head coach in his first 4 seasons in the NFL ever.
That would be amazing. Obviously, he's had a heck of a quarterback to do it with, but I think obviously I would love that. I would love it to be a 17-0 record. But a 13-4 or 12-5 I'll take, especially with that divisional record. One thing that's interesting about your predictions, and one thing that's interesting about my predictions, I have us going 13-4 and being 1-2 in the first 3 weeks of the season. I don't know how many 13-4 teams go 1-2 through the first 3 weeks. Something that's interesting about your predictions is you have us going 12-5 with a 3-game slide. I don't know how many teams in the history of the NFL have gone 12-5 with a 3-game slide. So we're kind of taking interesting approaches to get to our pretty gaudy. I think my prediction's a little gaudy, right? 13-4 is, probably a number 1 or 2 seed. 12-5 is still a very, very good record. And you have them doing that despite almost a month of losing 3 games in a row. Does it make you want to change one of your games?
No, I'm going to stick with this. I mean, obviously these predictions could change once we see things play out. I think once we're mid-season, these teams may look a lot different than they do right now. But we'll stick with it for now. And I mean, I'm not going to stick with these predictions as we go on.
You're held to that standard,
yeah, right,
no matter what happens.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens. But one thing we did want to talk about was, okay, the Packers go 12-5 or 13-4. What do we need to do to get to that point. What do the Packers need to do to make sure that they have a winning record and can lock up the division? I'm going to say offensively, Rodgers needs to trust his receivers.
Yes.
And defensively, they need to live up to the hype.
Yes.
Those are my two things.
I think that's a great question. I think offensively, great point. He needs to trust his receivers. I think we need to have a slight identity shift. I think the Packers need to have a running back in the top 5 yards, carries or something like that. The best combo for sure. I need Aaron Jones to have, 1,000-yard rushing and A.J. Dillon to have like 800 or something like that. I think we need to have an identity shift because I don't see a scenario where our current wideouts make up for the 163 targets or catches or something like that Devontae Adams had last year. Some of that comes from trusting his receivers, like you said. I think a lot of it comes from behind the line of scrimmage play, quick out passes to our backfielders, and having a slight identity shift with those two guys kind of being at the forefront of this team.
All right. Well, any final thoughts before we sign off for the day?
Final thoughts is, man, despite me having 13-4 as a record and you having 12-5, and I would love that. I think this season is more enjoyable when we're winning. What the last couple of years have taught me is that the number one seed doesn't mean shit. So even if you and I are both wrong, at the end of the day, what I'm going to continuously talk about throughout this season, every game, is we just need to make the playoffs. Honestly, if we get a freaking wild card spot, and we're away for that game, that doesn't make me it will make me more nervous. But us having these number 1 and 2 seeds the last couple of years hasn't done anything for us. So honestly, for me, these divisional games are so important, and I think obviously we want to win everything we can, but as long as we're feeling good and feeling healthy come mid-November, I think this team could always do something special whenever we have number 12 under center. How about you?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, my final thought, I think, is just that I'm excited for the season. Let's go. Sunday can't come fast enough. I am super excited. And, it seems like just yesterday we were talking about the draft, and now the season is less than a week away. Let's go.
I already invited you over for the Thursday night football, so I know that you're going to be watching it. But before I invited you to come over, were you planning on watching the first game of the year on Thursday night? Are you excited to watch? Just have football in general back, even though it's not the Packers on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, I got to watch some college football over the weekend, and I mean, I think this week 1 game is going to be a really fun, exciting one to watch. I think it's Rams-Bills, so not to sound pessimistic,
what a way to start the year.
Possible preview of the Super Bowl, I guess. But I'm just really excited for football in general, and to have some fun watching the Packers this season.
Awesome. Well, we're going to do one more episode this week previewing the first game of the season, Packers versus Vikings. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully Marcus is right. The Packers could be 1-0 in the season and 1-0 in the division, on our way to a 17-0 season. Or maybe I'm just dreaming. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Green and Golden Boys, a Packers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your favorite podcast service. And as always, go Pack, go!
Well, that does it for us today. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Green and Golden Boys, a Packers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your favorite podcast service, and go Pack, go!